Hey everyone, I already recorded what ended up being a much longer version of explaining the collective healing that Magdalena and I were guided to do recently on narcissism. It's going to affect a lot of twin flames, but will help many people. I want to do a quick version for those who are not patient enough to listen to the entire hour that it ends up taking me to explain it. Although I talked about a lot of other stuff too, but in any case, I want to try and give you a quick version so that you know. So we were spontaneously guided to work on healing the narcissism templating on people, on humanity. So she was shown how narcissism was kind of like thrust onto humanity. It's like the best words that I can think of right now. It's complicated to explain how narcissism comes about. There's actually multiple reasons and explanations that I'm going to explain more in depth another time, but primarily on the focus being that it is a partial possession, and it is like a mask or a template like placed over individuals by the dark, or like injected into them is another way you can think of it. But she was shown how this was done, and with Jesus's assistance and guidance through her side of the healing process, they removed those masks. They removed those distortions to help the narcissists in the world be able to reconnect with their higher selves and choose a better path for themselves, to choose to realign with the light. It's important. It's really important to understand. It's also really hard to understand that narcissism let me rephrase. That their souls are of the light. They are not inherently bad and evil, but for various reasons, their souls choose to experience certain periods of time it being dark, and it is also a corruption by the dark. So from a 5D perspective, their souls are allowing it to be the case for their soul growth and for the soul growth of the people in their lives. But also from a 4D level, they are being attacked by dark demonic entities and being used like puppets because it's a partial possession. So it's like they have strings attached to them, connecting them to these dark beings who are using them like puppets to do dark, abusive, evil things in the world. And that is part of their soul contracts for their current lifetimes. So this was all a process of removing all of that so that they can choose a better path now. On my side of the healing, first, I focused on the survivors of the narcissists and focused on healing them like completely, thoroughly, mind, body, soul, from the effects from that narcissistic abuse and treatment. And I went through all of the chakras, did a cleansing and clearing of any dark negative energy, any implants, black magic. Oh my gosh, what was the other thing? And influence of entities, basically, and removing of the cords between the survivors and their narcissists so that they are able to fully break free. It was a really beautiful experience. I saw the survivor collective like scream it out and release their emotions. And I also saw in the crown chakras when Saint Germain even came in to help reopen and align their third eye and crown chakras. I saw their higher selves jump into them and help connect them with source and their intuitions again to heal from that traumatic abuse. With Jesus's help, I rejuvenated and restored them through each of their chakras and created a pillar of light for each survivor that was connecting them. It goes down and out through the root chakra, connecting them to Earth's core and grounding them to Earth, and it goes up through the crown chakra, connecting them to source, to God, and connecting their intuitions. And then I saw like all of their pillars of light turn on around the world. So that was really beautiful. And then I switched over and I worked on the dark feminines who embody narcissism templates, even though they are women, because narcissism is a masculine energy. It's an extreme masculine energy. So dark feminines embodying that is, another extension of the corruption that is done that's for another story, another video. But I worked on the dark feminines and the narcissist collective as a whole to help them release that templating and choose a better path as well. At the beginning, I promised to do no harm and only to help and heal. And Jesus also had a very specific and important message, which was part of what I already explained about them having good souls that just had to go through this dark period. But he also had an important message for the survivors and for humanity, that we also need to have compassion and understanding for them. And we also need to project unconditional love and forgiveness to them to help them find their way forward in the light, and to give them that positive boost of energy and encouragement that they are forgiven and that they can choose a better path, and you kind of like reintegrate into society kind of thing, if that makes sense. And that, honestly, like I had tears streaming when he was talking about this and doing this, because it was really beautiful. After that, I did the same thing, going through their chakra systems, removing dark energy, removing implants and entity influence, and helping reconnect them with their higher selves. And there was certain points during the process that Jesus called in the survivor collective to send them more of that unconditional love and forgiveness to help them find their way forward. I did the pillars of light, connecting them to their higher selves, and asked their guardian angels to protect them from the influence from the dark again, so that they can't become puppets again. It is an important note here that their souls sacrificed for the greater good of the soul journeys of the people in their lives. And I know that's hard to think of. You're like, I went through this horrible thing. How is that helping me? But that was part of your soul growth, and that was part of your soul journey in order to reach enlightenment and ascension yourself. And their souls sacrificed by being dark to help you get there, which I know it's a tough pill to swallow, but it is important to understand that. And that's why Jesus is calling on us to have compassion and understanding and unconditional love and forgiveness for them also, so that they can now shift back to the light and find a new path in the light. I was explaining in a different set of videos of the healing that I did on the karmic in my situation. So this is kind of similar to what I did with her. And she actually, her higher self, volunteered to like be a proxy during this process, and I could even feel that she had already had this healing done, that it wasn't really necessary, but she was a stand-in. And so that's like the karmic situation healing that I have in my shop is very similar as well. So if you listen to that in depth, you'll get a good idea of what I do during the karmic situation healing, because we literally like went through all the chakras and removed like those tentacles from the dark evil beings that were controlling and manipulating and puppeteering and whatnot. Because when these dark feminines and narcissists have these soul contracts with these dark beings, those soul contracts have to be burned, and those cords connecting them to the dark beings have to be removed. And you can think of it in multiple ways. It can get confusing to explain, whether you think of it as cords, implants, like control panels in their head, but all of that has to be removed. And I know it's even more weird to think of it like that, but it's also from a spiritual perspective. It is actually happening, but it's not something physical that you can see. So it was a process of removing all of those things, if that hopefully makes sense to you. So that is the process that I went through with them in removing those cords, burning those soul contracts with the dark, and removing any of those implants and other methods that the dark uses to control them and puppeteer them, so to speak. And now Magdalena is going to be doing in the next few days the end of this collective healing that is going to be about 2 steps that Mary Magdalene is guiding her through. One is a spiritual baptism, that is retrieving their innocence and purity. Sorry, I have to like look and see what she said. I did write this down in my post about the collective healing, so you can read it, what she said exactly there. But this spiritual baptism is going to restore everybody's innocence and purity through their inner child that they had before all of this narcissist templating affected them, whether the narcissist or the survivors. And then she's also going to be doing a ritual for cleansing the blood, cleansing all of our blood, because in past lives, blood rituals were done by the dark, whether it was dark people or beings or whatever, or working them together. Blood rituals were done to us, causing soul fragmentation in order to damage us, basically. Like, I can't tell you the exact reasons, like what they were trying to achieve, but I do know that these blood rituals were done to us through witchcraft in past lives that caused soul fragmentation to us and distortions, leaving us wounded and unhealed. And actually, I do remember the purpose. The purpose was keeping twins separated, keeping divine unions apart. So by cleansing our blood, she is able to remove those distortions and allow for divine union as well. So she's going to be working on that in the next few days to complete this collective healing. I believe this is going to be assisting all feminines, but for dark feminines, it's more removal of the narcissist templating, and for divine feminines, it's helping to heal, to allow for divine union. And we should expect to be purging that out through our moon cycles, we'll say, for the next month or two or so. She can say exactly how long. So anyway, so that is the collective healing that we did. And that gives you an idea of what a lot of my new healings are going to be about. Like, I just added a bunch of healings to my shop this month. So that karmic situation healing is one of them. I also have a twin flame healing, of course, naturally, in which I will go in and let your higher selves and Jesus guide me through any particular healing that either one of you needs in order to move forward at your current stage of your journey. The cord cutting I've always had in there to remove any toxic cords. Now, this is actually interesting. This is interesting because you can't cut cords with your twin flame, but the cord cutting can remove any negative energy between you and your twin flame if you went through any periods of just difficult periods that have caused a lot of negative energy between the two of you. You know, whether that's anger, frustration, sadness, or whatever it is. Like, it'll clear that out and only leave the good cords, the good positive cords left. And then it'll also cut cords with anyone in your life who was a karmic type of connection or just left a heavy negative energy from the relationship and whatever occurred from any type of relationship too. Then I have an inner child healing that is going to address any traumas that you have experienced in your lifetime. I have a past life trauma healing, so of course traumas from your past lives. Soul retrieval healing, which any major traumatic events that occur in past lives or the present life can cause soul fragmentation. So when going through this healing process, it's almost like piecing you and fusing you back together. And then I also have a guided inner healing, which that is going to be like us working together. So rather than me do it separately, we're going to do it together, and I'm going to guide you through the process as well. And it's kind of also teaching you how to do it too, so that you can one day do it for yourself and you don't need a healer to do it for you. Everybody has that power within them. It's about learning how to utilize it. So so those are the healings that I added to my shop this month, which I'm really excited about being able to do that for you guys now. And since I do have like a minute left, I just want to mention, oh, well, I didn't actually finish saying that I do have the listing in my shop now for the collective healing, so that you can either donate to the time and energy we spend on this for the collective. And if you sign up, you're setting the intention for your energy to be included rather than, you know, assuming that the collective healing energy comes to you as well. So also recently, I have not actually talked about it anywhere, but I did add additional twin flame reading options that some of you have seen, but not everybody, basically because I wanted to add the spirit chat to some of my readings. The spirit chat is when I use the pendulum and I literally have spirit spell out sentences and messages, and you can ask specific questions, or I can just ask spirit what you need to know, or I can ask your twins, higher self, what they want to tell you. So I added 3 readings that include the spirit chat. So I have my basic twin flame reading, I have the basic plus the spirit chat. Then I have a few that have already been there with the Akashic Records and or astrology. And then lastly, I have 2 more extensive twin flame readings that both include the spirit chat and different combinations of what was previously mentioned. So check out my shop if you want to order.